Thank you for being here. I'm very excited. This is my journey from fear to freedom. The fear is certainly in my heart at the moment. Whoops. I think I got the hang of it. Do you know that we are born with only two fears? The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Now, if anyone had to ask me, what are you afraid of? I would not say of loud noises or of falling, unless I'm at the edge of a cliff or I'm hanging on an amusement park ride, my feet are dangling and there's a big drop. The fear of loud noises, unless I'm in the street and the car alarm sets off or there's fireworks, you wouldn't realize, but we are born with these two fears. But it's not what I thought I am afraid of. So in preparation for this speech, I searched the topmost fears on Google. This is actually a game called Google Feud, and these are the topmost searched fears on Google. The two you see in bold are the two I managed to guess from 10. I guessed the fear of spiders, I guessed the fear of heights. There's no cockroaches there, which is one of mine. But as an online entrepreneur, as a life coach helping women succeed in their life and in their businesses, the two that stood out to me most were fear of success and fear of love. So I created the speech today, and I decided to face my own fears so that I tell you that you are not alone. As women, we need to do many things. Our life goes on, but fears are there every single day. My journey with fear was a big discovery. It was challenging. My biggest fear was something at heart. Growing up as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, I always looked at fear as a weakness. You should not be afraid, you should not cry in public. I was a perfectionist, I never put my hand up in class in fear of being wrong. I really tried not to address my fears or my negativities. But little did I know that, like a battery, there's the positive side and the negative side. We need both sides to survive and live and function as a full human being, to be balanced. I always try to focus on the positive. I always try to be happy, bubbly, smiling, and suppress those negative emotions. I try to not cry, I try to be strong. And then one day, poof, and the floodgates open. But you also need to be positive. So we need to have a balance. We need to have a contrast in our life and not focus only on one thing. If you try to focus on one, I tried to focus for numerous years on the positive. I didn't manage. You collapse. So here I am today to tell you that when you have your fears, it is also part of you, and that's okay. For me, fears were weaknesses. And I never wanted to show my weaknesses. But I think as women, when we show our weaknesses, we show that we are real. Everyone has a weakness. I'm not good at everything, and that's okay, because there's you, and you can do your thing. So in this journey of becoming a life coach, I decided I have to face my own fears first before trying to help others, right? So I discovered that by being vulnerable myself, and by being vulnerable ourselves, we can actually heal ourselves. And this was my journey. So I'm going to take you to a personal story. And today I'm defeating my fear, so let's do this. My biggest fear was to speak about my grandmother, the actress Vittoria, there we go, who, without her, I felt a lot of fear and sadness. And I never thought I'll be able to do this, but I'm doing it today. Speaking about her made me very vulnerable. Every time I get the frog, I cry, and I try to hide it and suppress it and push it down. But I made a decision. So last March, not the one past, last year, when it was the anniversary of her passing, I was sitting on my couch at home and my heart hurt. I missed her so much. And I wanted to know why I was feeling like this. I wanted to discover what is happening to me. Why do I collapse every time, every year? So I decided to face my own fears in the eyes. What did I do? You ask. I hope you're asking. I went to a place where I remember very vivid memories of her. I went to Paris. I was 8 years of age when I went with her, and she passed when I was 14. And I went to Paris, and I went under the Sacré-Cœur. There's a big, white, beautiful church. And as soon as I glimpsed the feeling of Paris, I started crying and bawling my eyes out. But I knew this was going to happen. My supportive husband was there, just in case people come and ask me, are you okay? It's okay. And I cried, and I cried, and I allowed myself to cry. It was okay. And then I walked down the stairs under the Sacré-Cœur, and there was the Carousel. You know that round thing with horses? And we rode together. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I rode on the Carousel, and I had instructions to my lovely husband, and I said, until you see a smile on my face, I'm not going to get down. Continue paying him, please. Which he kindly did. So I went round once. I was still crying. And I went round the second time, still on the same pink horse. And at a point, I felt free. At a point, I felt this relief, this feeling of letting go and everything's going to be okay. And at that point, I realized I have been in control of my suppressed emotions of 22 years, pushed down, trying to not address these emotions because we try to look strong. We try to be everything we should be. But we should also be vulnerable, and it's okay. It's beautiful to be vulnerable. That's why you're here. And I wanted to share this feeling with you because it was such a beautiful feeling that I said, I'm sure my grandma's happy with me feeling happy and relieved today, rather than sad and suppressed. So I decided to speak about fear. And I just spoke about my grandmother, so I just faced my own fear. And I'm going to wrap it up. You know, when I was making this decision to face my own fears, I had to do something very challenging. Because I know, as Einstein well says, that if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. Very wise man. If I had to not face my fears, and if I stood there crying every year with the same pain and saying, we would not be here. We would not be here. So I did something new, and as you already peeped because the slide escaped, I took my leap of faith. And today I'm going to invite you all to try to take your leap of faith, to get out of your comfort zone, to try something that makes you closer and brings you closer to your dream. This is my dream come true today. Because if you don't, you are not going to reach your ultimate potential. You are not going to get closer to your true happiness. You're going to just stay there comfortably, living the life, existing perhaps, but not being who you truly can be. And you know that. I know you do. To get out of your comfort zone, you need to go through fears. Because when you jump, there is no security that you're going to land on beautiful moss. There might be rocks, there might be a couple of scratches on the way. But trust me, it's going to be worth it. My best decisions have come out of jumping and taking my leap of faith. So do trust me. And I'm going to close with one key that I found that makes my life every day easier. And if you don't know what to do, if you're not sure how to face your questions, your dilemmas, your choices in life, I'm going to give you the solution today. It's a very simple word. It's a 4-letter word, and it's not fear. Whoops. I'm too excited. I want you to choose love over fear. I want you that every time you make a decision, you take 2 minutes 2 seconds sometimes when you get used to it, and sit within you and say, is this coming from a place of love or from a place of fear? That's it. It's very simple. We make many decisions during our day. We're like, oh, no, no. And then you make it, and you're like, no. This event happened from a space of love. I just put a post online. This lovely Sarah offered to help. These lovely speakers offered to help. It was effortless because it came from my heart. It came from space of love. You know that it is right when you speak from love. You just know it. You know it within. You don't need to think. It just flows. This event flowed so easily because it was meant to happen. It was meant to be. And I also would like to take an opportunity, once I'm standing here, to thank you, to thank Her Excellency Mayor Luis Carrillo Preca, President of Malta, for choosing love and making this event possible for us. I'm very grateful, and thank you, Auntie, for being here. When we choose from love, we make things possible, we make dreams come true for ourselves and each other. And today, if you don't remember anything from everything that I've said, please remember, choose love over fear. Thank you so much for making my dream come true.